Hey everyone, it is MG from Computer Science 494. This is the second PowerShell video. I've actually done a lot of thinking about how that first video went and sort of the assignment in general of how we're doing it. It's kind of complicated whenever we start talking about doing and solving problems and like co-contribution or contribution from other people, because the video was intended to be sort of this naming convention sort of video, and it turned into let's start doing the assignment, which is fine because I think we handled some conventions along the way, but I don't know that we're going to be able to finish this fast enough, yet still taking our time to sort of allow everyone to contribute and everything. So I guess I'm not saying this isn't going to be a contribution sort of thing. I'm saying that I'm going to keep going to solve the problem, and then the contribution might be similar to running it and tweaking it and kind of making up our own things instead of contributing to the base code. Now, we certainly, you've got access to the repository, so we can definitely have that, contribution. If you see something I did and maybe I intentionally didn't follow one of my own sort of things, conventions, and you say, oh no, this is a convention you didn't follow, you need to follow it. Well then, fine, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll follow that. We'll take your version of it. But I guess all I'm saying is that don't get too hurt over the fact that I'm doing a lot of this and I already know how to do PowerShell and everything. This is sort of a teaching learning thing, and maybe you'll see something that I did wrong. We'll contribute. We'll talk about it. We'll merge it in, and everything will be fine. But I'm going to keep going with it with the goal to solve the problem. The problem being, we have it up here in a big block comments. We want to write some sort of random user generator so that we can at least get some real or seemingly real data into our Active Directory domain, that is the CMPS 494.sclu.edu domain. And I can originally conceived of a system, organizational, personal, and location based. And over time, I've sort of been throwing things out. For instance, we're not going to do division. Division is kind of not particularly helpful for us. We're still going to do this. This is still good. This is actually going to be the social security number minus the dashes. And we're going to do something really cool with that in a minute. So we've got office phone, which is going to be random. That's going to be 3-3-4. Company is going to be from a list that we'll generate. We might do this later. We might, just let's go ahead and make that sort of a not right now thing. Title, that's going to have to be maybe from a distribution, but we might come up with some just generic titles, because when we think about it, you've got director, administrative assistant, but then everything past that is relative to the department. So HR is probably not going to have janitors in it. There would be janitors, there'd be custodial staff that are, the custodians are in the physical plant, are in the maintenance department, but you won't have, laborers 1, laborers 2, laborers 3 in HR. Likewise, you won't have a systems administrator in HR, but you would in, say, the IT department or whatever. So I don't know that title is really going to be important initially. We can always go back and manipulate this data later. Or at the very least, we keep title in there and we say, okay, let's go ahead and create all of our people that we're going to have. Let's determine the department that they're going to be in. Let's say we evenly distribute people in the departments, and then let's go through each department and say, the first person randomly chosen, you are the director of the department. The second person randomly chosen, you are his or her administrative assistant. I'm not going to assume the gender of people in power, but and then with third and fourth and fifth, we go through that. Office, I don't know that we're going to keep that. We can go ahead and we can say not right now. We don't have to worry about it right now because it's going to be random and kind of arbitrary anyway. I think with the data that we already have, it will be good enough. Personal will have name, first name, last name. Phone number's already there. Thanks to random users from the web function that we wrote last time. If we go in here and we say, give me, what is this? Get random users from the web, and let's just say we want to get 2 random users, then we can see that we got 2 random users. We got a Jennifer Reynolds and a Juan Pena. And we've got a lot of information about them already, but we see that the information isn't quite good all the way. For instance, the state, all of the data is kind of lowercase So we need to uppercase that. And we were looking at that at the end of the previous video. So let's pick up on that right there. So that was in the fix users from web function that we were working on earlier. And we figured out that we couldn't just like to uppercase everything. That isn't really something that we wanted to do. Instead, we wanted it to be what's called title case. Uppercase the first letter of every word. And this works most of the time. Maybe some words like and or to shouldn't have title casing. We're not going to worry about that. It's also kind of interesting because the idea of to title case, like to string or to upper, to lower, that should be sort of a string manipulator that is default, you'd think, but it's not in PowerShell. So what we had to do is we had to instantiate and get something called get culture and then text information, and then we had some modifier on that. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to create what's called, I have no idea what it's called, but we're going to create an object version of this. I'm going to call it formatter. And it's going to be text info. So now it's just going to be $formatter.toTitleCase from now on. Anytime we wanted to use this. So yeah, I think if I was to go through, I don't need to run that. That's going to work fine. So effectively, what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to just say formatter.toTitleCase, and that kind of cuts out a lot of this copy and pasting this around. So if we, for whatever reason, wanted to make this a little different, we can go ahead and change that a little bit. So, okay, we could also do something like to dash, like case fixer or fix dash case. That's something that we could do. Let's put that above everything, kind of in our utility area. So function, capital F, remember, fix dash case. And we'll go ahead and we'll say param. Ooh, there's a lot of P-A-R-A. Oh, there we go. Eventually it was whatever. Call it mandatory, and it is true. And what we're going to call it is, it'll be a string. Otherwise it won't make much sense that we're trying to title case it. Did I miss something? Mandatory equals oh, I'm not supposed to put that in there. Yeah, there we go. String, and we're going to call it I don't know, what's the generic form of what we want to fix? I guess to be fixed. That's good enough, I guess. And we'll go ahead and just close that out, and then we'll say return and get culture dot text info dot to title case, and then to be fixed. And what it'll do is it'll try to fix this. So instead of doing this business down here, we can just say fix dash case it's not pre-populating it, but it's there, to be fixed, and then we'll send it to whatever. And this entire thing will be the correct version of that. So cool. Let's go ahead and start fixing the users from web. We have fixed users. I'm gonna uppercase that F. It's bothering me. We have this fixed users list that we are going to we're going to create and add sort of user objects in this format too. Now, we could create a separate, script, a sort of script block that has the user objects in there kind of specifically, but what I'd prefer to do, I'm just going to leave this in here right now. What I'd prefer to do is just in this little function, fix users from web, at the end, I give it a list of users, it gives me back a list of the users, but they're appropriately formatted in a format that I want to deal with from now on. Because look at this down here. We have fixed users from web dash users get users from web number 10. So it's going to take this, get a list of 10 users, then it's going to come in here, fix the users, and then I should be able to do something like, you know, like that, and have, you know, have all of my users here, or just take this and do something with it. If it's just adding them to if it's just adding them to AD, eventually, you know, we're going to pass it to here. It might be something instead of this, because we don't care about that. We could say take all of those and iterate through that and add random users, and we'll say that the user is just going to be whatever the current element of that list is, of that iteration is. So this would effectively add everybody that's random to AD. We're not going to do that just yet. I'll leave it in there, but up here we're just going to write out the user. So instead of adding it, it's just going to write it out. That'll be placeholder that we'll fix later. I'll even put a little note. Placeholder. Replace me. Okay, so right, moving on. What we're going to do is we are going to say, for our list of users, iterate through them, and while we're iterating through them, we want to create a user object that we will then add to fixed users. So we can go ahead and we can say fixed users is going to get something added to it, and it's going to be, for right now, a PS custom object. We've seen PS custom objects here. These are just objects that we can just do pretty much anything with, and they're sort of like objects with named attributes or named characteristics from any other language that you've messed with objects. The big difference is that we don't have to, like, we have to create them in advance, though not necessarily, but we're going to in this case, and we're going to follow this entire thing sort of pretty much. So, and we're going to do it in I'm going to structure it first, and then I'm going to start plugging things in. And we'll see pretty soon that we're missing some information. So we've got all this information on here. Let's go ahead and I've got some little side notes that have me kind of, it pretty much is just a copy paste of this. So I'm not going to go back up to that anymore. You can, though. You can open this video up aside the GitLab or the CS Git repo if you want. Okay, so the first thing is we want to create four sub parts of this. So system, organization, and it's going to do some color weirdness because I'm not finished yet. Personal, and then location. And this is we're going to keep location separate, but really location could be personal.location. In fact, you know what? Let's do that. We're going to do personal underneath location. So I'm going to have to change. I'm changing it on the fly. I'm doing it live. Now each of these, because we want the desired result, we want effectively we want to be able to say, like, you know, user.system.username, or user.org.title, or user.personal.name.firstname, or something like that. That's what we want, and we want that granularity, because if we wanted their first and their last name, we could just call user.personal.name. If we wanted the entire location, we can call user.personal.location. Remember, we're taking this and we're moving it into there now. So this is important that we have this sort of hierarchy in there. That's the whole reason we're doing it. Now we could say system_username, and we would just call it user.system_username or user.system_domain, and it would be a very flat structure. But what you're going to learn is in Active Directory, at least, and really in a lot of systems, it doesn't benefit you to have a very flat structure. So if this is effectively the user dot, you know, the whatever the iterative element is, you know, user dot, and this would be .system.org.personal. Because system has some attributes, some characteristics below that, it is in fact also a PS custom object with, you know, potentially more PS custom objects in there. So I'm just going to end it real quick right there, and I'm going to copy and paste these things around. And I'm going to pause just for a minute. I'm going to say something that normally and I can't believe I'm saying this now. Line things up. when you line things up, things look better. They work out better for you. And I'm saying that because it's all about readability. Whenever we read this, we can see that this outline is pretty readable because everything's lined up. The dashes are lined up. But because of how we're setting these things, these equals don't really line up ever because org is much shorter than system or personal. Line them up because whenever we're scrolling through this, it's going to be very easy to read, and you're going to see that in a little bit. So inside system, we have username, domain, and UID. So for that, username, notice that I'm capitalizing these now. This is because whenever we do a object dot attribute or dot subattribute, we're going to use dot capital S dot capital U. The difference is look at these. So what was this called? Oh, I didn't do anything. Let's do this. Let's momentarily say let's get 2 users back and store them in our user U object. If I was to get the email, that's effectively what we are doing right now, except we're going to make it a capital E. If I wanted to get the ID.name instead of the ID value instead of ID name, we can't do ID.value. That doesn't exist because they didn't structure that hierarchy correctly, or at least they didn't structure it this particular way that we're doing it. We actually have to call it completely by ID. I can't type today. ID.value as a string attribute because that's what it is, which is fine. That's good to test that around and use that and know that. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to say that value is a sub-attribute of ID, which I think is a little more elegant, a little bit more usable. But again, just me. So we're going to say username equals. Now remember, the username that we were going to use for this was actually their login.username. So something like .login.username. And we'd get Golden Frog 982 in that case. Now, we've got to format this correctly, or we don't have to format this one correctly because this is a username. We're not really going to need to do anything about that. So what we would do is we're going to use the generic sort of iterative current iteration, which is $_ dot and in single quotes login.username. Now, I'm going to surround these in parentheses and spaces just because it's going to clean it up a little bit. Again, no functional reasoning to do that. Order of operations is pretty much what you want to do, or pretty much what takes control of that. But because there's not anything being added right here, it doesn't really serve any function other than looking good. Again, opinion based, but it's a convention. We're going to stick to it. So the next one is domain. Line up your equals, and again, we were going to use the get dash domain, which I don't have on this computer because this is my home computer, and then we're going to give it the forest sort of tag. I'm sorry, get AD domain, not get domain. Normally, this is technically what I should do, so I guess I'll do that. That's arguably that's like how it should be. And again, if OCD lets me, I'd do that. So it would just be this nice, super nice thing. I'll come back to that. Maybe we'll do that. And then user ID. And this is going to be the social security number. So it's actually going to be ID value. But what we're going to do is we're going to take and we could do a dot replace. I think that would probably be just as good as what I was about to say. We're going to replace these and replace them with that. And then we'll add a U. I want to show this off because since this is sort of a sequence that's separated by some common delimiter, almost like it's a comma separated value or something like that format, what we could have done is we could have taken this and we could have split it out by this. And what that would do, it would give us, in this case, because let me just do the first one. Because it's split out with the dashes, it would be 3, and then there's a dash. So this is element 0, element 1, and element 2. Remember back to arrays, everybody? We're still using that stuff. What we would then do is we'd want to say dash join, and we just want to join it with nothing, and that would give us the whole thing. So notice how this first element and this is actually the same thing. So this is a nice way if we're ever going to do some string manipulation with a lot of elements and we needed to sort of join them together in a nice elegant way. We could also do something like this if we wanted to separate them out. So there's a lot of really neat stuff there. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a dot replace or a dot replace. So $_ element to dot ID dot value, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say replace. I'm going to use capital R because why not? And then we're going to replace the dashes with nothing, empty string. There's probably a more elegant way to do that, but we're not going to worry about it too much. So that's cool. That's all we're going to do with system. So now we can go to, you know, whenever we have a user object, it'll be like fix user 0 dot system dot username, and we get this dot system dot domain, and cool. That's what we wanted. That's exactly what we wanted out of this. So moving on to organization, this is going to be sort of a fill-in later sort of section. So we're going to do title, and I'm just going to make it an empty string right now. Did we say that we're going to do title? Yeah, we're going to do title. We're not doing company. We're not doing office right now. So title. We're going to do office phone. And this could probably just go down to phone because we are it's sub nested inside organization, which is good. And we probably shouldn't, or you know, it's not like we're paying. It's not like we're paying by the character for these names. So okay, and then phone. We're going to do department. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this. It's not going to matter in the end, but I might as well do it now because I said something about it, and I don't want to be a liar. Department, and then we're not doing division, and we're not doing office. So let's cut division. Yeah, we cut division, we cut office out. So really just title, phone, and department for now. Now, because we don't have any information about this this particular subdivision here, we're going to skip it for now. But we are going to come back to it because it is important, and it might be the contribution that we're talking about that I was referring to earlier. So we've got personal rather. This is going to contain the named information, the home phone, the mobile phone, and things like that. So let's actually divide this out as much as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to say name, and then we're going to say phone, and then we're going to do photo eventually, but we're going to leave that out for now. And then we're going to do location. So each one of these is actually going to be its own separate PS custom object, which is super awesome. PS custom object is probably my favorite thing in PowerShell, just because of how versatile and nice it is, you know, because objects. And I'm just going to copy and paste this through 2 more times. All right, cool. Now, if I was really crazy, I'd want to line all of these up, but I'm not, and we're not going to. So name, so first name, we'll do that, and then last name. Really, we could just do first and last, but we're not paying by the character, so name.first name, name.last name. We could even do things like name.initials or name.middle if we had any information. We could derive the middle initials. Let's do that. Let's do initials, just because we can derive it, because we're going to have both of them. And then we're going to do home phone and mobile phone. And then under location, we are going to have address, city, state, and zip code, and country. And we might hard code country just for now because we're not sure how we're going to deal with, or even if we're going to deal with other countries or people from other nationalities like Great Britain or whatever, mainly because of different character encodings. I'm sure Active Directory can handle it, but there's no benefit to us to do it. I mean, this is sort of like a dumb exercise anyway. Go ahead and just pre-create my equal sign so they're all lined up and I'm all happy with it. Now, the nice thing about most of this information is that it already exists. We already have it in our random user object, and we can see that on the left over here. So, if we wanted our first name, what we would want to do is we want to fix case, and we want to now it's got to be fixed, and we want to send our current element dot, what was it, name dot first, and that's it. It would come up here, it'd grab let's just say Levi or Levy, and then it would go and fix the case and bring it back. So this would be capital L, Levy, and we're gonna do the same thing for name dot last. Now for this one, what we would want to do is we could probably get the to upper working. Do something like, well, let's do it down here first. Since we have some data. Let's get our first element. So we got Levy Shaw. It should be capital L, capital S. What we could do is we could say, give me name dot first, and then give me the first, and then we could say toString let's see. No, we're getting the L. Do we have anything that says to uppercase? To type toString. We might have to do something like, we'll keep that for later, something like get culture dot text info dot to upper. Yeah, there it is. So, and then we would put in here $underscore, I'm sorry, $, whatever it is, U in this case, the first one, and then name dot first, and then get the 0th element from that. So it would be that, and then plus the same exact thing, except it would be name dot last. So let's so we could use this. It's kind of a little long-winded, but it's not necessarily wrong. What we'd want to do is we'd want to say $_ there, and then $_ here. Now what we would want to do, what we could do is we could say fix case. We could put some sort of flag in here that to be fixed, and then something like -to upper, or I don't know, some switch flag, or we could leave it like this. I'm inclined to leave it like this only because this is the only time we're using it. We're never ever going to use, I say we're never going to, we probably aren't going to need to get things like that, so I would say let's just leave it. We use fixed case a lot, especially with the address we're going to use a lot, so let's just leave it like that. So there's the initials, the initial generator. Mobile phone, I believe, is phone.cell or phone and cell, so that's going to be pretty easy. It's going to be $_phone, and it's already in the format that we want. $_.cell. I'm not going to do that. And then for address, this is where it kind of gets a little ridiculous. So we get location.street.city.state and .postal code. All of these, with the exception of postal code, there, are going to need to be corrected or fixed or whatever. So we're going to do this fixed case. We're going to send underscore dot location dot street to be fixed. And then I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to change the attribute around. Now for this one, since it's just numbers, $ underscore dot location dot postcode. Yeah, that's how they say it. Postcode. And this will be location dot city and location dot state. And we're not going to worry about making a 2-digit whatever for that. And for this one, this is just going to be hard coded for now because I can't think of any other reason to do it a different way. United States of America. Cool. So that is that's our user generator. Now what we can do is down here, let's actually just run it. And what this should do is it should print out. Actually, let's do. No, this is fine. This is fine. So when I run this, we should get a lot of just. Oh, there is no AD domain. I'm going to comment this out only because I can't run get AD domain on this machine. And it looks like fixed users from web, and it added random users. And then down here, it's not, it can't print the user out for whatever reason. So let's do dot personal dot name. See if that works a little bit better. Nope, still not working. Add random users for each user. Add the user. It's coming over here. Let's give me an object. Okay, well, I don't know exactly what's going on here, so what we're going to do is we are going to set up a breakpoint. So the breakpoint is going to be right here. I'm going to right-click on the line, I hit toggle breakpoint. I'm going to debug the script by going to run script, and what it's going to do is we can see it isn't hitting add random users at all. Something else is happening. It's not getting to this at all. So let's change it up a little bit. Let's put it right here. Actually, I know why. I just saw it. I'm not gonna break that. So notice we have fixed users. Yeah, we're not actually writing fixed users out anywhere. So return fixed users. Now it'll work fine. It'll print out the names. Yeah. Okay, and notice it's printing it out as a hash map. If we were to do this, it would print out a lot more. In fact, it's not looking like it's doing much, but all of this stuff is there. It's just not big enough to print it out. Yeah. So if we were to do something like user.system, we'd see that it's actually printing out user ID and the username. If we decided to, instead of doing this, instead of writing it out, which might benefit us a little bit more, let's change this to just store it as some sort of object. And let's just call it users. So I think now over here, oh, my bad. Let's take this toggle breakpoint and let's run to that. Oh, my bad again. What we're going to do is we're just going to put a nice little, I wonder if I can I do pause? I might be able to do pause here. This might not work. No, totally worked. It's cool. So everything, this is the debug that I was talking about earlier, everything on the that has run up to this point is available to us in the console window. So now users is available. If we were to say users.system, we get a nice little thing there, users.personal. It's not as good as it could have been, But if I do something like dot location, that's a little bit nicer. We see that we've got all of our information sort of nicely formatted. You know, this doesn't look like it's fake data. I mean, it very well, you know, Atlanta, Minnesota, not really a real place. Well, maybe Las Vegas, Utah. Don't think so. But you never know. I mean, it looks nice. So we see that. And then F5 to just end it. Cool. Okay, so we've got all of this sort of taken care of. Now we have to worry about organization, because in a future, I guess in a future sort of assignment, we're going to deal with sorting all of these, creating and sorting some structure based off of things like organization. So let's go ahead and pause, and this will be a point where I upload this these new changes to the repository. Go ahead and take a look at this video. It'll be uploaded, you know, within the day. It's only a day or two after the first video. Go ahead and look at it. See what you think. One moment to think. So randomuser.me actually has an API that by default converts to JSON, and there is a convert from JSON. But when I was trying that earlier, it was giving me all sorts of headache. I didn't get it working very well. So we don't really lose anything by getting it in CSV and then converting it from CSV. It's the same end result, and since it's only one line of code, it would still be one line of code, not that big of a deal. So yeah, not a problem. But I did notice that if you took a look at random.me or randomusers.me, you'd have seen that. If you have any questions, then I know it's over the break, and that most of you probably won't see this until you get back after the break. I'm actually going to do this. I can't believe it. I'm so ridiculous. It does look nice though, right? Like, level with me. I don't know if I'm going to do it with that one. That's a little much, but all of these we can do it with. So whenever we take that away, bloop, there we go. So anyway, if you have any questions, send me an email, mg@sclu.edu. You can hit me up in Moodle. You could just do whatever. Get in touch with me if you have a problem, though. Again, we do not have an assignment posted yet, but very soon we will. And when we do, I expect a lot more interaction than what I've been getting. Because, yeah, you know, come on, guys. What are we doing here? All right, I'll see you in another video. Bye.